I'm going to Dreamhack this weekend, and I'm going to be playing with a couple of my friends from the Georgia Warlords team. There's going to be 8 of us in total, including me. We have a bunch of amazing players and one from Florida that we're bringing up. And I'm going to be running World Eaters. And today, I'm going to break down my list for you so you can understand exactly what my strategies and my tactics will be at this amazing event that I'm hoping to really enjoy myself. Look, I'm going to Dreamhack not for the 40K aspect. Even though I'm going to be playing in the 40K teams aspect of it, I'm going for the dream destination, the entertainment of watching the esports, watching all of the video game players in the world, and everything else, the spectacles that they have at that amazing event. So I hope to have an amazing time. It's going to be like the Disney World of all gaming around the world. Stay tuned while I break down my World Eaters list and you can see what I'm going to bring to Dreamhack. Welcome back, everyone. So here's my Dreamhack 8-player team event list. And this is a World Eaters list. As always, everyone knows that I run World Eaters. I don't think I'm going to retire them anytime soon. As everyone knows, I play other armies as well, like Orcs, Harlequins, things like that, even though Harlequins is not necessarily a faction. But I try to nerf myself where I try to play in a peg of just Harlequins until they get better or they get a codex. But anyways, so let me go ahead and break down my army list that I'm going to be bringing to Dreamhack. I'm really hoping that I have an amazing time over the weekend over there. I know this is going to be an amazing experience for myself and all of my friends that are part of the Georgia Warlords. Shout out to the Georgia Warlord individuals. And I'm just happy to see all of my friends, to meet new friends, hang out with them, and do an amazing job throughout the weekend. I'm really hoping so. I'm really hoping that I can get Best Journal with World Eaters once again. That would be surprising, and that would solidify a lot of things for me, even though I've already done it twice. I'm hoping to do it for a third time. Wish me luck, everyone. But here's my World Eaters list. It's called Dreamhack. I'm 5 points short of the maximum point of 2,000. Right? I'm bringing only 2 characters, so assassination is not going to work very well against me. All right? I'm bringing the man, the angriest, Angron himself. All right? He's obviously going to be my warlord. And I'm also bringing the World Eaters Lord on Juggernaut. He has no enhancements. I actually didn't have the points. I actually wanted to go boys over toys for this list, to be quite honest with you. A lot of people are going to look at my list today and they're going to say, like, why did you go in this direction? I want to maximize 8-bound. They are an auto include in what I think, right? I just finished doing a video a couple of days ago last week where I have a video that I ask you, right? I wasn't asking myself, I was asking you all if 8-bound are an auto include 8-bound, the data sheet that also includes exalted 8-bound as well. I think they're an auto include in a lot of lists. There are some variants that I think that maybe you don't need 8-bound and you can do very well depending on your meta. But if you're going to a GT, a major, super major, things like that, you're definitely going to need some 8-bound. Okay. But anyways, you're also going to see here that I have no Lord Invocatus. So let me break down why I have no Lord Invocatus. All right. I wanted to see and challenge myself even more, right? With an already challenging army that's an elite army, and I wanted to continue to challenge myself because you get to a certain point that you're doing very well with this army, right? As I have been doing. So I wanted to challenge myself even more by bringing in more boys so I could be a lot more brutal, but dropping the scout for 3 units, which would be Lord Invocatus himself, and then 2 exalted 8-bound units usually is what I do when I'm throwing in that scout for 2 units, right? So I really wanted to challenge myself. And the biggest thing is, I'm not an Unga Bunga type of player, right? I don't think that's the right way to go. With all due respect, if that's the type of player you are as a World Leaders player, I hope you enjoy yourself. I hope you're doing very well with the Unga Bunga. But I'll be quite honest with you, statistically, you're usually not going to do very well, right? So, that being said, I really don't need the scout in the beginning of the game to position or stage my army, right? I don't need to do first turn charges. I don't need to do that. It's not the way that I play in particular. You might play a different way, but it's not the way that I play, right? I like to stage myself for alternative turns, which is second, third, fourth, fifth turn, things like that. I with a low model count army, you're usually going to play 5 turns, especially if you have your opponent on the clock and things like that. But anyways, that's a different story for a different time. But the clock situation, obviously, right? But I don't think that I need him necessarily. And I've played a bunch of games without him. It feels super weird. It makes me feel like I'm maybe not maximizing. I know a lot of people are going to look at this and be like, you're out of your mind. There's so many benefits in getting your scout. It helps you with your staging. It helps you with positioning and things like that. Yeah, it absolutely does that if you're teching into that, right? If you're trying to get things on the first turn, and I'm still going to have 2 units to get the ability to scout. So what I'm doing is I'm taking lesser, what I consider lesser units that are more expendable, right? To do the action junkie type of things if they need to do actions, take objectives, take quarters, and things like that. Then I'll use them instead of using the Exalted 8-bound because I feel like Exalted 8-bound is really the creme de la creme, right? They're the best part of the 8-bound units, right? They're the strongest ones. They have the better feel no pain, especially if you're using your blessings on them and they get a 5-up feel no pain on top of that, right? So they're a lot more resilient. They're a lot more valuable, right? They're more valued assets. So I kind of wanted to get away from utilizing them as that type of play style and playing with my army with more 8-bound. And I was actually able to. So I won Best General at the Gateway Open. And I won with only 1 8-bound unit and 3 exalted units, 1 of 6. I wanted to add more. I wanted to add more bodies onto there. I felt like I needed to have more models for flanking, things like that. I wanted to have more models for longer survivability because once we start getting hit by those shooting armies, we really start disappearing very fast, right? So I just wanted to have additional bodies, more models on the tabletop to do better for me and to play out longer throughout the game for longevity, especially, right? And this is the biggest thing, especially when you're going against more competitive players, which I hope to, tech into at Dreamhack. I think some of the most competitive players are going to be there. So I think I'm going to need more bodies for that instead of finesse and enhancements and things like that. If I can play my army properly, I can stage, charge, and do combat and execute those in the precise times, right? Which I've been practicing a lot, then I'll be able to do that, right? So I don't have Lord Invocatus. I know that it looks weird to a lot of people, but I don't need them, all right? At least for this list. We'll see. I'll do a post report after the event, and we see how bad I did or how well I did, right? I have 1 battle line unit of Jackals. I think they're always an auto include as well, right? If you're taking Jackals and you're taking Berserkers, both of them are an auto include semi. I think Jackals you should always take, but I'm taking Jackals with me this time around because I wanted to get more 8-bound units, right? So I only have 1 just to help me out with 1 icon, so I can have 1 reroll ability for the blessings roll, and most importantly, to hold the deployment zone, hold the back line, sticky some objectives that are around that really quickly, and then run to the back line if I need to, or be the back screen, right? What I really use them for is to be the back screen of everything that's in my army. So if I have things in the back 40, which are predominantly going to be like Spawn and the KLOS, right? The Corn Lord of Skull, they're going to protect them from any deep strikes, things like that. So even if I do a sickle or basically I do a U around them, I'm going to protect them from deep strike, preventing Inceptors from coming in and blowing up their Corn Lord of Skulls quickly, things like that. Jackals are high utility, very cheap for their points. So I think they're going to help me out a lot, right? So I only brought one of them. But as you can see, I have 2 units of A-Bound, all right? Both with Lacerators on the Champions and Eviscerators on the regular models, all right? So they're going to be predominantly my flanking models. They're going to be my action junkies. They're going to be the ones that do have the ability to innately scout. So they're going to jump out there, try to get those objective markers, try to threaten those small, puny units, right? The ones that you have as an opponent that you're using to hold objective markers, and I'm going to throw them at you, right? And I'm going to let Exalted 8-Bound take care of the meat and potatoes of it, not the salad, not the small portion, right? I want them to take care of the meat and potatoes with the Exalted. But for the regular 8-Bound, they're going to take care of the flanks. They're going to do the quarters, secondary mission, any primary missions, things like that. Jackals are going to help them out with that, and Spawn are going to help them out with that as well. The Exalted 8-Bound units I have in here are 3 of them. So I have 6 8-Bound, and I'm going to bring 12 Exalted 8-Bound. All right, 1 unit of 6. I always feel like it's very beneficial to bring 1 unit of 6, especially when you have the paired 8-Bound Chain Fist on all of the champions, right? Remember, I was telling you before, if you listen to any of my other videos, right, you get that extra 2 attacks from having just both of the options where you have an Eviscerator and a Chain Fist. The champion gets plus 2 attacks with his paired Chain Fist, plus he gets Twin Linked on top of that. So I really like those averages. Yes, it's going to be weird to have to roll 5 guys with just Eviscerators if I'm going into like Drakari, Eldar, Tau, things like that, where I want to guarantee to wound on 2s, right? It's usually going to be like Xenos bodies, not Space Marines, unless you're talking about Imperium models, which are toughness 3. I'll use Eviscerators on those. But everything else is going to be Chain Fist. So I wanted to make sure to get all of those extra attacks from the champion and that Twin Linked as well, right? So I'm going to try to smack things very hard, claim some skulls, and get as many bodies as I can, right? So I'm going to bring 12 of these once again, 3 units, 2 units of 3, 1 unit of 6, and they're going to be what I call my staging units and how I've been using them. They're going to be my positioning mid-board and to threaten everything that you have in your army that has high toughness, that is high value, that you love having or keeping in your army because it's going to keep you in the game, like a Magnus, things like that, that makes you damn near impossible just to, table. That's what they're for. 12 of them. I want to make sure to delete whatever I need to delete as quickly as possible. If you're going to come out there with your guns and you're going to think that you're going to try to shoot my Corn Lord of Skulls or my Angron, think again, because these units right here, I'm going to make sure to advance and charge plus 2 movement, and I'm going to get into you very quickly. Remember, it's only 30 inches if we're playing on a long table edge, right? So if we're playing like a Dawn of War style, Crucible of Battle, something like that, it's 30 inches from the longer portion of it to the other end. If I get to mid-board, if I position and stage mid-board, it's only 30 inches to the other side, and that's all the way to the back end of the deployment zone, right? That means you're going to be a lot closer than that unless you're very scared, right? So don't be, for my opponents, don't be very scary. Just bring yourself to me and just let me take it over, please. All right. But in all seriousness, though, right? Most of your opponents are already going to be at that threshold of probably 7 inches above their back end deployment zone. So they're going to be about 23 inches away with an 11-inch movement. If you auto six one of these units, right, you're already talking about 17 inches. If you're 23 inches away, that's a 6-inch, 5-inch charge. So I want to make sure that I get stuck in very, very quickly and stage myself appropriately behind ruins, things like that. If I get into like layout 7, layout 8, those will be some of the better ones for me. Obviously, there are some other layouts as well that can be very advantageous for this army, depending if you're a shooty army, if you're a close combat army. It really depends what you're going to match up to. But obviously, as everyone knows, we're world eaters. You're going to match up into close combat armies. You're going to want to manipulate as many combats as possible, as quickly as possible. Shooty armies, you can kind of feed them units a little bit, and they'll start chewing through those units because they're usually very soft units. Close combat armies, you really want to invest in a lot, so you want to stage a lot more appropriately. So that's what I'm going to predominantly use them for. They're going to be in the position to basically just take care of tanks, take care of mid-board holding units, terminators, things like that. If I hit you with 12 exalted 8-bound, hitting on 3s, re-rolling hits with Angron supporting them. If you're already in the mid-board, right, I'll take sustained hits and maybe advance and charge instead. Now I'm hitting on 3s with re-rolls, with sustained hits, wounding on 2s, re-rolling for the champion because of the twin links. So now my efficiency starts getting very high. If I have the 8-bound unit, not the exalted, but the 8-bound unit next to them, I can re-roll 1s. So mostly everything that I'm wounding on 2s, I'm re-rolling 1s to wound as well. So high efficiency, a lot of attrition, a lot of attacks, things like that. So I plan on staging them and putting them in position for the highest efficacy of success. All right. And that's what I want to use my Exalted 8-bound for. Also, like I was telling you, I have the Corn Lord of Skulls with the Demon Gore and the Skull Hurler. To be quite honest with you, I know a lot of people say that there's a lot of different weapons, a lot of different variants, that you can get 12 shots on the Hades, things like that, and guarantee those 12 shots. I like, as you can see, and I always talk about this, I like challenges. I like playing that gambling game, right? I like to gamble, and I don't mind gambling with strength 14, AP 3, or AP 4 weapons that are either 3 damage flat or D6 plus 2 damage flat, right? That's really what you go for them for, right? That's what you take them for. Is you take that strength 14, that high AP, and that high damage, you're really going to kill just about anything that you put him into. If you have the opportunity on the second battle round, because you can't do it the first battle round, because the charge phase is after the shooting phase, as Angron gives you reroll hits to any unit, including in shooting, but it doesn't go off in the first battle round, or at least your first turn, because of what I said, right? Charging is after the shooting phase, so he's not going to be able to reroll those hits. But if I stage it for the second turn, then I'm going to be able to reroll those hits, hitting on 3s, hopefully wounding everything with strength 14 on 2s, right? If I'm shooting into knights, if I'm shooting into like lancers and things like that, obviously I'm still going to wound on 3s. I'm not going to wound on 2s, but still high damage, and whatever does wound, whichever ones are 5s and 6s, are going to be very dangerous, very threatening, and people are not going to really think that it's going to do a lot, because a lot of people don't use the Corn Lord of Skulls. And I've been using that model for a very long time. I love the model. I like to play a little bit more elite. I really think that World Eaters with shooting is fantastic. It makes people really second guess. Now you get to play 2 games with people, right? Now I get to threaten you with shooting and close combat. So now you have to say to yourself as an opponent, all right, not only is he a threat in the fight phase, but he's a threat in shooting as well, where he can basically delete anything. This World Eaters player being me, right? With 3 damage flat or D6 plus 2 damage on the Skull Hurler, right? So now you start playing these psychological games with people, and you start being more of a bigger threat on the tabletop, and people start to second guess, make mistakes, things like that. They don't know how to properly position their units because they're worried about both getting shot and getting charged because we're so fast, right? This is why I use it. You want some high caliber strategy thinking, right? That's why I do it. Because of those reasons. You want to threaten your opponent. Hey, you want to put out your Lancer out there? I'm either going to charge it or I'm going to shoot it with a Corn Lord of Skulls. Go ahead, be my guest, right? Or Angron is going to flip it, all right? And then, last but not least, we have the World Eaters Chaos Spawn. Obviously, everyone knows the Chaos Spawn for World Eaters are amazing. There's still one OC as opposed to all of their counterparts in Chaos. They have the ability to do all of the action stuff. They can sometimes to take care of the 5 model unit of scouts, things like that, charge into that just to take them away from the objective. But the biggest play for them is to go to objective markers, kill things like scout units, or if there is no scout units, whatever little things that might be over there, not high toughness, not high wounds things, right? Or just take an objective marker and dare your opponent to kill it off of that objective marker, so you can pop that stratagem where you leave that objective marker sticky until they take over it, right? With a 4-up feel no pain, that's going to make it very challenging for your opponent. 4 wounds every single model, and then re-healing every single command phase, including your opponent's command phase. It's going to be a challenge as well. So this is my list that I'm taking to the Dreamhack. I'm hoping to really put everything to synergize together. I'm going to make sure that the Juggernaut himself is basically threatening flanks as well. So I have 2 units with the 8-bound, the Juggernaut, and the Spawn. The Spawn is really not going to be the attacker type. They're going to be more of the defensive type. But I have the Lord on Juggernaut, and then I have the 2 8-bound units, right? I might even plug them into that 8-bound unit, right? Just to get them over there very quickly, get that unit to have extra wounds, things like that. Never know. I might try to do that in some of my matchups just to ensure that he survives and he has some efficacy when it comes to playing the battle round itself. But we shall see. I tend to use him to hold objectives as well. So now I have Spawn going to grab an objective. I have Jackal sitting on my objective, my home objective, right? Then I have the other 8-bound unit. That's 4 units, just objective hunting, all right? Obviously, one is my deployment zone. And everything else, Angron, Corn Lord of Skulls, and all of the Exalted 8-bound are basically just terrorizing and destroying everything in your army, all right? And that's how I plan to use the entire list. And I hope everyone enjoyed. And let me go ahead and give an outro. Thank you, everyone, for watching and participating. It was a very short video for my usual. It was like 20 minutes less than usual from when I'm doing these op videos and things like that. But I just wanted to do a small tactical breakdown of exactly what I'm bringing to Dreamhack. I want to make sure that you know, as a World Eaters player, how I use my list. Hey, if you have any tactics or any hints or any tips and tricks that you want to give me before I go to Dreamhack and enjoy myself with my bestest buds, let me know. Leave it in the comments section. Throw me a DM. I prefer that you throw me a DM so nobody else can see it, just in case the ops is watching, right? But you can always just send me a message. Let me know what your thoughts are. I hope you really enjoy it. Thank you very much to everyone who participated. And remember, as always, Onslaught Gaming 40K, where victory is just a strategy away. And most importantly, burn, maim, kill, blood for the blood god. Ah!